right, here we go. Welcome back to Out of Left Field, everybody, episode 4. I am joined by Natalie Wideman, who has a hell of a rap sheet, catcher for Team Canada, Olympic medalist, entrepreneur. Should I go on? I'm actually not going to go on. What I'm going to do is pass the mic to you and let you introduce yourself how you would like to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Hi. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. No better way to spend my day other than to chat softball and life. So seems fitting. Like you said, I'm Natalie Wideman. I've been on Team Canada for 14 seasons now. I don't age myself too much. I do own my company, Unedited Self Co. I am finishing up my naturopathic medical degree. I co-own a gym with my husband. I'm a dog mom. I got a lot on the go. We're like all over the place, but I love it.
Nonstop. And I told you I do a little bit of research before I talk to somebody, but I was looking at your bio. I'm like, damn, like bullet of all the things that you're involved in. I was like, I cannot wait to talk to her and hear all about it, learn all about it. So I'm super pumped. But I do want to start way back at the beginning. And, this is a softball show. So what initially drew you to the game?
Well, my 2 older brothers played baseball, so I was always around the field. I was just like part of the baseball family. We played something called running bases all the time, like the girls that were the sisters of the boys. And I finally looked at my parents. I'm like, I could do this. Like, I'm better than them. Here we go. Like, how can I get involved? And they're like, okay, like only if you want. Like, we don't want to push it on you. I'm like, no. The goal is to be better than them, to keep up with them, and like, let's go. Like, competitive nature is like on. So thankfully, I had them to kind of spark the interest and to continue pushing the needle, because for me to keep up with them, whether they were running, throwing, pitching me knuckleballs, and me trying to figure out how not to get hurt, it was fun to just tag along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think, was there ever a moment, and you kind of said it, that you were like, I could do this, but like a specific moment, maybe when you were already playing the game of like, oh, I can do this at a high level?
Yeah, there's a moment that stands out. We have a home tournament in British Columbia that Team Canada goes to every single year, but a part of that tournament, there is like a showcase travel ball team tournament that's kind of goes hand in hand. And fortunately enough, I had the opportunity to go, which is across the country, pretty big sacrifice for my parents and whatnot to let me go to that. And I remember standing in the bleachers watching Team Canada play Team Australia, and I looked at my mom and I'm like, I want to do this. I can do this. This is so cool. Look at all the eyes on these amazing women. So seeing the athletes do their thing and how they responded to failure and how they cheered when they got the hit and like the passion and the energy, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And my mom's like, okay, like, cool. I was like 11. Like, I don't know. But I was like very much like when I have a game plan, like I'm doing it. She's like, okay, Nat, like, we'll see when we get home. I'm like, what do you mean we'll see? It's already happened in my head. Like, we're doing it.
I told you.
Yeah.
I already made that clear. So I've actually only, again, fresh brand, like we're at the beginning of this thing, but I've talked to a lot of current AUSL players and getting their perspective. They're closer to my age. I'm 25, of like, when we were younger, that viable career of being a softball player was kind of like not even a whim. For some people like yourself saw it and said, I'm going to make a way. I'm going to find a way to play this at the highest level. And you did. So looking at how that landscape has kind of changed, media is changing. The sport is getting more flowers and more attention than it has ever gotten. What's that been like to see? Like, just how it's evolved?
I think it's incredible to see how it's evolved. Like at that young age, watching Team Canada play, I knew very well that it wasn't going to be a career, so to speak. It was going to be a passion project. It was going to be the love of my life. It was going to be having this family outside of my family to kind of like lean on. And I thought, wow, what an honor to represent your country. I never thought that money was going to be like the reason that I did it. Now seeing that women have an opportunity to make this a career and really go all in, they may not have to balance going to medical school or business school or having their own business on the side. They can, don't get me wrong, because women, we do it all and we are super women. But seeing like the MLB invest in AUSL, for me, looking at the landscape of sport in Canada specifically, because that's where I'm from, I'm like, wow, these younger athletes can look at this and be like, I can see it and I could be it eventually. That would be the goal.
Yeah. And again, the same conversation in different texts, or so to speak, or fonts. I have heard from so many players who are just extremely grateful for their journey, but also to see people from the outside really getting involved with the sport and creating that lane for the next generation. Like you said, you can see it, you can be it kind of thing. And it feels like a team effort of trying to put the sport on a pedestal for that reason. So I think it's really cool to hear, at least for me, from somebody who was kind of way and not I'm not trying to shit on you for age or anything, but like way back before before I'm
Thank
younger,
you.
but way back before, when it was more of a passion project kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's cool to hear. Was there ever a moment when you kinda questioned what you were doing or maybe doubted yourself?
Uh, how much time do you have? Of course, there's so many times. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
normal with sport. I think it's one of the beautiful things about sport is you learn how to work through that doubt and, like, kinda get to the
Yeah.
next level. But I do remember specifically, when I was in college, way back when, I'm old. I'm just kidding. When I was
Put
when
my
I was
foot in
in
my mouth.
college, we were waiting for the vote to see if if softball would be in the Olympics for
Yeah.
2016, and I remember it was voted out and just absolutely being devastated. Like, this is what I wanna do. Yes, I've been on the national team and I love representing my country, but to be an athlete on the Olympic stage is, like, the be all and end all in my mind, and so when it was taken out, I'm like, "What am I even doing here?" Like, I could start life. Like, I could move on to this next portion, and in that moment, I was like, "You know what? What's more important right now? Me becoming a better human throughout the sport, me meeting amazing people, me developing, me hopefully giving back to the sport in the next generation and keeping these younger athletes involved because I know how much it's given me." So I kind of had to put my quote unquote like dreams and aspirations a little bit on the side because it was taken out of
Mm.
my hands at that point and just hope and cross my fingers that in 2020, thankfully everything kind of worked out, but there was another shot for me to reach that level.
Wow. There's been a lot of, at least for me, seeing a lot of women say what you just said of kind of putting your own things to the side for the greater good and whatever it may be, whether it's in sports or not, that has been a trend that we just as women have had to do. And I think it's admirable to think about being in that position of like, my sport just got voted, the thing that you work towards, the target. Since you're little, you look at these Olympians and you wanna be one of them, and then to have it voted out, like, just I can't even imagine what that felt like, but again, sticking to it, betting on yourself, continuing on with the journey, hoping for the best, but doing it with, um, I guess I would say kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just sticking to the plan, and I think if you do stuff with, transparency and good intentions and, you keep working towards it, it ends up working out for the best, and, I mean, softball's coming back in 2028 in the Olympics. Again, we've got a new league that the MLB has a 20% stake in. It's on ESPN Plus and MLB Network, and we really do have to thank the women that stuck with it when it was kind of getting pushed to the back burner. Um, I kinda wanna pivot a little bit because you did mention Unedited Self, and I really, really was drawn to that when I learned about it. And just kinda what's the backstory of that? I wanna dive in a little bit deeper, but what's the backstory?
During COVID, when the world shut down and we were all in like a very weird place, I had a lot of the younger generation reach out to me on social media or whatever the case may be, and they're like, "Wow, like you're so beautiful, you're so confident. Like, how does it feel to like always feel that way?" And I'm like, "Wait, whoa! Like, I am not showcasing the reality of like what my life is. Like,
Yeah,
I am not perfect. I am not always confident. I'm far from it. And I think there's this unrealistic expectation for whether it's athletes or celebrities or whoever, people of influence, that our life is perfect and dandy. And I wanted to my main initiative was to help that younger generation see that we have days where we leave practice and I am bawling. Like I am a hot mess. And there are other days where I am jumping here and there, like so excited that something clicked. There are days my hair looks half decent. There's days that it doesn't. Like it's just, that's part of what life is. And I
yeah,
guess throughout the journey of trying to help these other athletes, ironically, it really helped myself. I didn't realize how edited I was in my life and how scary it was to be unedited. And that That was physically, it was mentally, it was emotionally, it was all those things. So the more I tried to pour into the next generation, the more liberating it was for myself. So thank you to all those young athletes that really sparked something for me, to be able to kind of like level up, because I didn't realize along the journey, and this is still to this day, is like I was afraid of a lot of things. I didn't really necessarily believe in myself all the time. And being very authentic and transparent about where I stand allowed me to better understand who I am, what my strengths are, my areas for improvement, like all of those intricacies of my comfort in myself, so to speak.
But and when you do that kind of thing, when you realize like, "Oh, there's younger girls reaching out to me because they think I have it all together,"
I do
I
not.
maybe yeah, right. But I maybe should be more unedited, so to speak. How do you make that change? Because it's so ingrained in our culture to be, look a certain way, to do things a certain way, to think a certain way. How do you make that change? Because it's not a flip, right? It's a part of your hardwiring and how you grew up and what you were conditioned to and stuff like that. So how do you, evolve that way?
Yeah, it was honestly probably the scariest decision of my life to just start, whether that
Mm,
meant I took photos without makeup on, or I did a quick story without really thinking about it and was like, "Hey, today's practice was crap. I did not like it. I did not feel good about myself." And I just like threw it out there. And I'm going to be completely honest, there was a lot of times where I posted things and I'm like, "Man, like people could be looking at me and thinking, wow, she really wants attention." Or whatever the case may be. And so there are a lot of questions I asked myself. And I was like, it's more worth it for me to be vulnerable than for these people to care or not care or judge me in these areas.
yeah, and it's kinda erasing that validation, the worrying about what p other people think, and as an athlete, I feel like that is and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's something that you are constantly battling with, the opinions of analysts and coaches and fans, and you are always worried about, how can I perform and be my best self on the field, off the field, so that I don't have to hear everything else from everybody else. So for you to do that and make that a mission as an athlete, I think just it puts it on steroids, the purpose and the weight behind that mission. Um, I guess throughout that process, was there ever a point where you were like, "It's actually too much work to be unedited," and kinda wanna, like, revert back a little bit?
Oh, that's a deep question. No, no, I love it. I love it. Um, yeah, of course. It's scary to put yourself out there and you don't know how people are going to respond. A lot of people have responded very positively, which is amazing and I'm really thankful. But even that in itself is a lot of extra work because you want to talk to them and you want to engage with them and you want to help them. I'm a helper by nature. So how much can I have on my plate without being like burnt out or exhausted within that? But it's so fulfilling for myself selfishly. And then also seeing younger athletes saying like, wow, I'm allowed to like miss hit something. I'm allowed to not feel great and still show up to practice. Like these are normal things. Like just getting them comfortable with themselves.
Yeah. For people who don't know necessarily, I guess I should have asked this before we started the deep conversation, but for people who don't necessarily know what unedited is, like, is it a brand? Is it a community? What do you guys present yourself as?
I mean, it's in the infancy as well, I guess. So I'm still discovering it a little bit. I want it to be a community, and I think we're beginning to create that. I want it to be a language. I want it to be a movement. And I do have merchandise that I want people to like remind themselves like who you are is enough, as is, flaws and all, good days, bad days, ugly days, amazing days at the plate, whatever that looks like.
When you are so confident, so well spoken in this message, but it takes a village. Who were the people in your life that really helped you get to a position where you could do that and you could be unedited and you could help other people?
My
Uh,
teammates are amazing, unbelievable at what they do in terms of supporting me and hyping me up and reminding me that what I'm doing is courageous. So I want to give them a huge shout out. I think my husband, of course, is like, you're scared of it? Do it. Like, you need to do it. Like, that's where the growth is. So he's kinda, like, pushing me off the ledge in the most beautiful way. It's like, if you fall, and then you get back up. So having someone that has your back there is, like, really good. And then I will give credit to my head coach, Kaylee Rafter. A couple years ago, she asked me, "What are you so afraid of?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I've been on this team for, like, X amount of years. Like, I'm not afraid." She's like, "You should probably go think about that." And then I realized I was afraid of everything. So, like, kind of opening my eyes to how can I embrace that fear a little bit more, and, like, that's where the growth's gonna be. That's gonna be where I understand myself more. I learn into belief systems. So, very influential people in my life.
When you and I love talking about fear because it is so interesting to me to learn or to just really understand how fear, one, it's not real, but how it becomes real in your everyday life. As an athlete, how do you think that affected your journey? Just fear.
I think fear for a really long time limited me. I tried to hide from what I was afraid of. If I look at, like, my swing mechanics, for example, for a really long time with Team Canada, I was like a defensive specialist, maybe in my own head. But I didn't wanna look at the mechanics of my swing or the mentality up to the plate because that's where I was afraid of, like, "Ooh, it's so ugly, there's so many, like, flaws, I gotta work on it." I just don't wanna open that can of worms. And now flipping the switch, it's like, "What am I afraid of?" Every day I'm asking myself that question so I can, like, dive into it because that's where I'm gonna understand myself. So you can have fear, and it doesn't have to limit you. You can use it with you. It doesn't have to be your best friend either. You don't have to, like, eliminate it because I'm on the national stage and I still feel it. So if you're 12 and going up to bat, it's normal if you're afraid. So how do you harness that and, like, move forward with what you're doing?
Whoo! I have a
Yeah.
new,
Yeah.
morning routine question, I guess. What am I
Yeah.
afraid of?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start adding that to my journaling in the morning.
Like, even with you asking me to do this, like, you we chatted yesterday and I'm like, "Sure, I'm kind of afraid. I don't know what to expect, but let's go for it because I'm gonna learn something, I'm gonna connect."
That's it. I didn't give you much context either, so I
Yeah.
apologize for that. So
Yeah.
you really
It's
just
okay.
dove in right here. I'm over here asking the deepest questions. You're like, "What the hell did I get myself into?" Um, but honestly, like, everything you're saying, I'm like, my brain's going to, and I'm not even an athlete anymore. So this goes much further than just
For sure.
women
For
playing
sure.
softball. And to your point, fear, I think it's crippling. I think it it's a good thing when it's used correctly.
Mhm. Mhm.
It tells you when to be scared inherently. Like, there are times that you should feel fear, and that's your inner body working and your survival mode kicking in. But we are so prone to living in survival mode and being scared of things that we should not be afraid of. And the only way to get through that is to step right into it and kind of face those things one off.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mentioned your husband and that you guys own the gym together,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
him kind of being like, "Nah, do it, go right into it," kind of thing. What kind of partnership, like, does it take to be able to be a professional athlete and be an entrepreneur and study and do all the things that you do? Talk to me a little bit about you guys' partnership.
It takes a very patient man and a very secure man in terms of what he does and what he can do on his own when I'm gone. For instance, I'm gone every summer with Team Canada, and last year in, like, December, I told him, "I wanna go play in Mexico. So, how do you feel about that?" He's like, "You mean, like, move there?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna require me, like, moving." He's like, "Well, the the end goal is LA 2028. Go for it." He's like, "I'll be here. What do you need? Like, how do we need to work through this?" Like, so he just kind of puts himself aside and knows, like, this dream is really, really important to me. More than just softball, more than accolades. It's more about me becoming the best version of me to help him, to help myself, to help my community.
Hell yeah, I love that answer. And it's so, like, again, the people around you are the people who really influence your life and what you achieve in life. So having a partner like that and it does take a lot of work to be able to put, especially as a man, to be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
step aside and let you do your thing and still function and be able to support you too.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the gym. You guys work together clearly. I guess with the gym. So how'd that start? What is that like?
Well, the Olympics for 2020 was my baby. He supported me like through and through. And when I got back and I told him I wanted to continue playing softball because the original thought was I would retire. Oops. He said, "Listen, yeah." He was like, "I have a proposition. I have something I'm like really passionate about that I want to do, but it's a risk." And I said, "Okay." I didn't even know what it was at that point. And when he said the gym, I'm like, "Sure. I would love to work out for free. I'll be there." This works great. Yeah. Thankfully, at the beginning, it was a lot in terms of learning how to work with your partner for sure. And I helped him a lot with like the startup of it all, but now he's got a really good handle of it. It's his baby and I just help when he needs. And then I do my workouts and say like hi to all the members, do a little bit of social media. That's it.
I'll pop in. Do you need anything? Cool. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I love that. What? So again, marketing.
Yeah.
What's up with the gym?
Sorry. Hello. We're the first franchise location of Body by Chosen. It was founded and started in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Whoop, whoop. And we're the first location just about an hour outside of Toronto. And then we also have another location that we don't own, but the founder owns in Florida. So it's like working and trying to expand a little bit. So we're like in the US, in Canada, but ours is very much like functional strength. And we do a lot of classes, a lot of personal training, but we also have a boxing ring. My husband's really, really passionate about boxing. So it's really fun. Like you kind of joked like, "Oh, I'm not an athlete anymore." And I'm like, "No, you're an athlete in life." So I tell the members when they come in, I'm like, "You're an athlete. Step in that ring, you're an athlete." Like coming in here when you're scared to work out, you're an athlete. And like kind of like giving them the same mindset shifts or perspective lenses that I've learned throughout sport and life.
Dude, I like to think of myself as an athlete. I just kind of shy away from it a little bit because
No. Own it.
I
Own it.
well, I talk to so many actual I say actual professional
Yes.
athletes and I'm like,
Yes.
I am not even look, you earned that. I will sit this one out. But you are right. If you're moving your body at that level in the functional strength training, boxing, like you have to be some sort of an athlete and switching your mindset around that, I feel like really helps the progression in that journey. We kind of overpassed it. I want to backtrack to it. Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Give it to me. What's that been like?
So obviously I haven't been yet. Last year I was okay. Yeah, so last year I was asked to go, and at that point I didn't know much about the league and I was still in school. I'm finishing up my medical degree. So I was like, "You know what? Like I'm just like not time yet." I had some more research I had to do. And I think the first week they started playing, I kind of saw all the posts. I saw some international players playing, and I was like, "I'm going." Like I'm scared to live in another country. I'm scared to go play for a team other than Team Canada because it's different environment, different athletes, different language, like so many things. I'm like, I need to do it. If I want to be at my best and like get out of my comfort zone, this is what I need. So I just kept speaking it into existence. And the cool thing is the head coach of Charros de Jalisco, who I signed with, played against us on Team Canada. She was on Team Venezuela for maybe 10, 12 years. So I've known her. I feel comfortable with her. I'm really excited. She went to FSU, which is where our head coach coaches. So I just know there's a lot of things that like fit right. And it feels like I'm supposed to be there. Yeah. Yeah. Beginning of January, I head out to Guadalajara.
It's gonna come fast too.
I know.
Watch.
I know.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you talk about getting out of your comfort zone, right? There's all of these things that you're afraid of. You're gonna do them all at once. Growth is on the other side of that. When do you think that, and this is a deep one, let me prep you.
Okay.
When do you think that being uncomfortable is a bad thing? Because we do talk a lot about, you should be uncomfortable. That's how you know you're growing. That's, you're expanding. But when do you think maybe that uncomfortableness might be a bad thing or a sign that, hey, something's not for me?
That's a really good question. And I've honestly been thinking about it recently because I've been so engaged in saying like, yes, Like, this is what I wanna do. Boom, 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 and just, like, taking on opportunities. I think what I've done a good job at is, like, determining, is this taking me down the road to where my ultimate goal is? And if it's not, if it doesn't align with my values and what I'm trying to accomplish, and, like, my gut's kind of checking me, I usually check in with those people that are, like, my people, my husband, my teammates, like, "Hey, something's a little off. Am I off? Like, am I wrong to be thinking this?" Because I don't wanna be overwhelmed by the discomfort and then lead to burnout. I wanna be able to handle it appropriate. But I think that's what it's so important in terms of, like, staying grounded, doing meditation, journaling, reflection, sleeping well, eating well, so that I can make decisions appropriately. Um, Geek out me in terms of naturopathic medicine is thinking holistically, how does this fit into my life? And does it fit? Or are we going in the right direction?
How did you get into that? Like, I'm new, like, probably within the past 2 years is when I really started reading and, like, listening to things about breath work and meditation and cold exposure and what you put into your body. You know, they say eat health, it really matters what you put into your body, but,
Yeah. Ice
until I
cream later.
started reading about it, and I was like, "Oh my god," like, this and then you feel the effects and, like, how I show up in the world, how I wake up and my mood in the morning, and am I gonna get my to-do list done today because I fueled my body correctly yesterday, or did I eat like shit last night and now I don't wanna do anything? Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really, really does. So, like, how did you get into learning about all of that?
I mean, first and foremost, because of my schooling, I'm investing in that part of my life to eventually help others would be the goal. But I mean, selfishly, it helps me on my pursuit of high performance in any avenue. And I always knew I wanted to help others, and I wanted people to understand you can preventatively take care of your health instead of always like backside. And then also with Team Canada, we are very, very, very fortunate in terms of the team that we have. And over the years, it has changed. And we've had other people come in and out, whether it's like nutritionists or mental performance coaches or strength coaches. Like, I feel like I've learned a lot throughout that process. And a lot of young athletes think that being on the national team or maybe even like AUSL, like pro leagues, you just show up and play softball. But it's way more than that. Like currently with Team Canada, we're doing a book report and we like read chapters, interact with our teammates, post notes. We're going to create different mantras that work for us. We're like, there's so many things because 1% in all these different areas is going to make a big impact next year, hopefully the year after, and ideally in LA 2028.
Yeah. Wow. A book report is crazy.
Right? 33 and doing book reports.
I love that so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
When you look at and I guess going outside of softball, like, just professional sports in general, as a professional athlete yourself, where do you think there is room for improvement on that side of things? On the mental, game ready visualization, like, just on the less physical, more mental side of things, where is there room for improvement?
All of it. Like, I know that sounds like it sounds so broad, but I think right now, specifically in women's sports specifically, the more funding we have, the more we can invest in those sides of things, whether it's like a Normatec for your legs or better food options to fuel yourself. So me seeing the MLB invest in the AUSL, I'm like, good for those women. Like you guys have the financial capacity to now make decisions to take yourself to the next level and our sport to the next level. Like I want them to get really good so that I'm like, oh, I got to get really good because those are some of the women I'm going to be facing on the Olympic stage, hopefully. Right. So I think the funding would be the first thing. And then I think in general with professional sports and professional athletes is seeing the ability to have like compounded things working for you in the future, whether it's like the meditation every day, the eating enough protein, like all those little things. Yeah. Like I think the little habits stack. And I don't know if all athletes see, recognize, respect, and like value that yet. Do we have practitioners that are like helping them understand that?
The knowledge too. I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
that goes to in order to get to the level where the investments are being made, or teams are investing in whatever technology or recovery or coaching is needed, you have to educate. I talked to Allie Newland last week. She plays in the AUSL, former LSU Tiger. um, but we talked about the power of education on social media, because she does a lot of, and I mean, a lot of women athletes or female athletes are doing this, using their social media platform to educate, whether it's drills or
Yep.
just talking to the camera, kind of like what you were saying earlier of being unedited, of like, yo, my swing was jacked up like this today. This is what I figured out. But educating people on fundamentals and recovery and wellness and mental health, like, the more knowledge that is out there, the more investments will be made into the sport and into the athletes to make sure that they're recovering correctly and they're taking care of themselves, and health is a priority. And I think the coolest part of that is it hasn't been, I mean, there's a few outside sources like me that are like trying to educate, but it's a lot of the athletes in the sport that are taking it upon themselves to push the knowledge out there. And I think that surpasses everything that any media personality or marketing team could do, because it's
Yeah.
coming straight from the source. You guys are living this every day. Like, you are the ones in uniform, sweating, you've got the goals. So like, to turn around and give that knowledge to people on the outside, like, I think that is probably one of the best things for women's sports.
Yeah. And, like, a lot of the coaches I speak to when I go to help their program, they're men. And, like, I give them so much credit for the time, energy, effort they put into it, but hearing the same words from a female, specifically a female that's still playing, totally different. I could say the exact same thing as you, and they're gonna lock in so differently because, wow, she understands, because I don't feel great because it's the 18th of the month or whatever the case may be. Like, I'm a little bit more sensitive right now because so and so said this to me and we need to talk about our communication. Like, there's just little things that it's different.
It's the empathy element that, like, and again, this is not a shot to any male coach
No, no,
ever,
no.
because truly, truly, some of the best coaches out there are men, but there is an empathy element that they just can't, they can't have it because they're a guy.
Yep.
And for you to go into, and you do keynote speaking, correct?
Yes,
Am I
yes,
wrong?
yes, yes,
Okay, I
yes.
knew that.
I knew
But
that.
for you to go I didn't know that. For you to go in and say the same exact thing, but maybe in a different delivery or a tone, or just be able to be like, "Hey, I know what you're feeling right now. Come talk to me. We'll figure it out." Like,
Yep.
there's
Yep.
that's a huge aspect that kind of, I think, goes unnoticed sometimes or flies under the radar,
For sure.
when we're talking about coaching specifically.
Yeah.
Wow, we've touched on so many things. I've had you for half an hour. I'm so sorry.
No, no,
Oh
no,
my gosh, this
oh
is
my
fun.
gosh, this is fun.
This has been great. I could keep going. I wanna pick your brain about everything. Um, I guess we'll kinda round it out with this. I always like to kinda toss it up to the person I'm talking to with, like, you have a platform right here. Um, if there were one thing that you could say to the next generation of softball players, or even women in the sport right now, what would it be?
Oof. I wish I could say more than one thing. Oh, okay. I think being comfortable with the uncomfortable is like the baseline, and learning how to adapt within that discomfort. Whether it's like you made an error in a big moment, how do you respond through that? Or you don't get the starting position that you really wanted, how do you respond to that? Like, I think, especially as athletes, but female athletes, we do have a lot of feelings, emotions involved in what we do because we love it. So there could be a game when you're really frustrated or sad or above the moon happy, like bouncing off the wall, and feeling all those feelings because they're valid and real, but not letting them run the show. So stepping back from them and saying, like, okay, how do I respond in this moment? My emotions can't be the one that respond all the time. So kind of like in the big moments, trying to be as rational with your thought process as possible to kind of separate those two so you can be the best teammate, the best athlete, the best like friend, whatever that looks like, instead of making some like a rash decision, which is so hard to do. Like, I'm not I think it's a constant, like, work through it situation. My meditation that I started, like, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I do it every single night. People usually think, like, "Oh, you're just sitting there staring at a wall in silence," but it's just being comfortable being present. So, being present allows me to notice, "Wow, I'm really frustrated right now. How do I, like, step back from that, take a breath, and be like, 'What's my next move?'" Instead of just letting the frustration, like, take me where I need it to go. So, just kinda pausing more often and then being able to make a decision from there. So, be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. Try to separate yourself a little bit from the emotions so you can make, like, a very clear, decisive decision moving forward. And then owning who you are, flaws and all. Being okay with it. Like, I'm 5'3" on the national team. I am not gonna be the same catcher as someone that's 6'2". That's fine. Like, I don't need to try to be the athlete that's 6'2". That's totally not in my MO.
No, lean into what you have and who you are, and it'll play out exactly how it's supposed to. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
I am not blowing smoke when I say I could just keep picking your brain. I'm not gonna do that because it
Thank you.
could be 3 hours. But this was incredible. I'm so excited to go watch it back and then share everything that you said with so many people because I just learned a lot, and I hope people watching this learn a lot, whether you're an athlete or not. You can definitely pull something from here and take it with you and be better for it. So you are incredible.
Oh,
You're
thank you.
truly, truly, probably one of the my favorite people that I've gotten to talk to. I feel like I've learned a lot from you. So
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing for our sport and highlighting our stories and our love and our passion, all the things. It means a lot. A lot.
we're at the ground stages, but
I know.
we're
I
doing
know.
it
You're
step by
part of
step.
the village, baby. Let's go.
You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.